What up, what up, what up? It's your boy, Art of Dialogue. I got a special guest on the line. So if you don't mind, introduce yourself to the people.
I go by the name of Larry Croom, from Long Beach. Went to Long Beach Poly. Was blessed enough to play professionally for 10 years. A few years over in the NFL. Then went overseas. Definitely an interesting journey. Besides that, I'm here to talk about the incident that our school, Long Beach Poly, had the tragic day of when Tupac died. Just tell you my side, things I've seen from my perspective. I'm going to try to veer away from things I heard and just tell you more of what I've seen. I'll go ahead and I just want to go ahead and just give, I guess, everybody an idea of even what type of team this was before Tupac was even in the picture. A lot of these cats, it was his first time out of the city. We ain't went nowhere. I was only 14, so I was very young, but we was happy to be somewhere. And we unfortunately took advantage of that. And we ended up getting kicked out of the hotel after losing the game to a lesser opponent. But we was wilding, and we ended up getting kicked out of the hotel, and that's the only reason I believe we even end up at the In-N-Out at the same time Tupac does. If that doesn't happen, perhaps we still stand at the hotel. But on our way, we, like everybody else do, if you're driving from California to Las Vegas or vice versa, you usually stop at this, or you used to back in the day for sure, stop at this In-N-Out. The In-N-Out is still there. We pulled up first. We was in a bus it seemed like for a while until we got out. I remember our coach getting out first, going into In-N-Out, and as right before we basically getting off the bus, two cars pulled up. I believe they was old schools. One was definitely an old school. I remember it was clean. I can't remember what it was. But they pull up. They don't do no park. They pull up in the middle of the parking lot. It's parked right in the center. So you already know it had to be somebody that, they was having things. And Suge hop out. I remember seeing his earring from the bus. It looked like one of the mounts on the side of his head. And he walked in. I think he was with a dude. And we see him first, and after that, then we see Tupac. Tupac and another guy. I've seen interviews. I want to say it might have been his brother, but I'm not sure. But they hop out. If I remember, maybe I think they was smoking or something, just chilling. Seemed like they was waiting on Suge. This is Tupac. This is Elvis of our generation at that time. It wasn't nothing bigger than Tupac. Tupac was on movies, he's everything. He's a superhero at that time. So we get off with excitement, great energy, just, happy to see him, hopefully get some pictures with him, with some cats, I believe, did get pictures of that day. We want to be down. We figure he was from where we from. He moved like we move. So, we want to feel that energy. As soon as we get off, again, mind you, it is a high school team, but this is probably one of the best and biggest high school teams in the nation. So it may look like a group of grown men thinking about it now as an adult. It was like it had to be maybe 50 of us getting off the bus, excited to see him, but, pretty much running towards him. In the midst of that, immediately, he got on the paranoid. He was tripping. He was hold up, like, what's going on? Like, and this part, I can't say I was one of the last to get off the bus. I kind of, I don't know. I was a little weird in the case that I was excited, but I wasn't breaking my neck to get over there. My family kind of had a family history where I've been around Suge. I knew Suge even at that age already. So, it was, hey, I knew who they was, but I was excited. But for whatever reason, I took my time getting off the bus. So as I'm getting off, you can tell there's an altercation happening. And then I've heard I've heard and I've had people credible sources confirm this. They said it was guns pulled. They said they pulled guns out. And all I remember is a lot of commotion with a lot of people. And I remember the interesting part about it was we was high school kids, but wasn't nobody backing down. Just to kind of give you insight of where we was coming from. You know, a lot of them cats that was coming off the bus was from Insane, was from 20s. You know, these Long Beach is a Crip neighborhood, as we know from Snoop Dogg, but at the same time, we had some Bloods too on the team. So we had some Bloods, and none of them went backing down. You can be honest, a few of them was already active. They just so happened to play football and was talented. You know, I coached Bill Cats out of jail before a game. So this was a live team. You know, he didn't run into anybody. And that ended up being, some people believe, the best California high school team to ever play. To just put that in perspective. But so, you know, basically they wasn't backing down. They talking shit, we talking shit. They going back and forth. And then it takes what I always thought was interesting. It takes our head coach that's in and out to come out and diffuse it. But we had coaches there too. So the coaches was with it too. The coaches, you know, they wasn't backing down. They felt offended too. It took our coach, he came in and basically, you know, in the way he could, explained that these are only high school, these are kids. Once they got the picture of that, I seen things definitely immediately calmed down. Tupac was somewhat inviting, but, you know, he did stand on he stood on how he felt. He let us know, y'all can't be running up on people like that, homie. And he was very paranoid. I thought he looked very aware to me. And he was on the edge. And even thinking about it now, perhaps he was already on the edge before that happened. And maybe that's what led to it being such a, you know, I wouldn't say a negative experience, but start off so negatively. After, even though the coach diffused it, a lot of the cats on our team, they wasn't feeling it afterwards, because you also got to keep in mind, we in the 90s. So even when it come to rap, we really, really believe that when you on them records, you were saying all that in the 90s, we believe you did it or you gonna do it. So I think it was disappointing to a lot of the cats, immaturely enough for us at the time. Like, we was like, oh, we thought Tupac was with the shit. Like, he was acting nervous. Like, so we kind of didn't respect that. Don't, you know, take nothing away from Tupac and his greatness. You know, I love him to death, but that was an incident. Looking back at it again, it's 50, 60 cats that he probably thought was grown men. So, you know, Tupac went super big. A lot of these cats is big, 6 foot and up already, running at him, you know, in the gym. So I can definitely understand why he was a little hesitant. And, you know, and then I preached, and I know niggas was letting them know where they was from, you know, and he might have thought it was something different. But it was definitely that type of atmosphere. A lot of cats, when they got on the bus, was, you know, just again, like, disappointed. Like, we thought Tupac was a real one. You know, he acted like he was nervous. Yeah, like he was acting scared. And, you know, which was wrong about us, because he definitely was going through a lot, as we know now. But one part that did stick out with me, and I definitely never give his name up, but it was one of my dogs. And again, he probably wasn't one of the rough around the edges ones, to be honest, but he felt the way. And he was like, man, you know, this is why he probably got shot. But next time, I hope he died next time he gets shot. And to see that happen hours, you know, after that, always stuck with me. I'm not gonna lie. I know his intentions wasn't that. He wasn't even no guy or kid like that. I actually noticed that it altered, to me personally, I feel like it altered his personality after that. Like, he came real quiet, real reserved, almost like he felt, you know, maybe he wished that on him. Regardless of the whole situation, it was definitely a great memory that I won't forget. I mean, Tupac looked like Tupac, though. He was shining. You know, he was everything we was trying to be at that time. And just to get a chance to meet him was a great opportunity, however it happened. And just being from the city, you know, I think it would have been different. We was from New Mexico, even up north Cali. We was from the city. So, you know, a lot of people that they was interacting with, we know too. We was relatives of them. We was homies. So, like, we kind of knew what was going on. You know, we had family members too. I tell a story that actually my pops came down to see the game, but he had tickets to the fight. He really was coming for the fight. He asked me, "Did I want to go to the fight?" And me being immature, and I can't believe I told him no to this day. But I was like, "Nah, I'm okay. I want to hang out with the homies," and that's what leads me to even be, you know, over there. But later on, as the you know, everything pursued, even when the fight break out, a lot of people see on videos, my pops was around that. You know, I had family members around that. You know, they wasn't from none of those hoods or nothing like that. You know, it was Long Beach people, but Long Beach and Compton and, you know, LA, they interact for the most part, especially if, you know, you're in a mix. So I just had the luxury of kind of understanding the story, I think, in a different light than a lot of people for sure. But it was definitely a crazy night. Me being an adult now, thinking back at it, he was on edge. I always remember that. You know, I'm not saying he knew that was going to happen. He knew something, or he wanted to do something, but he was on edge. He wasn't, you know, especially somebody smoking weed, he wasn't relaxed. And that's pretty much from what I take from it.
I want to backtrack a little. You said Tupac was acting paranoid when y'all approached him. If you don't mind, my man, can you go more into detail about that?
He seemed paranoid. And like I said, like, that's why I want to put in perspective, because I definitely don't want to ever throw dirt on the man. I got a lot of respect for him. But it's 50, 60 guys that don't look like kids. So let's just go ahead and call him grown man, you know. So they running up to him. We didn't walk up to him. We didn't, you know, and we looking rough. You know, we got on whatever, you know, cats walking out, cats probably got their rag hanging out. It's all type of stuff he's seeing before we get to him. So you got to keep that in mind, though. But, yeah, he definitely was uneasy.
What did Tupac say when y'all approached him?
When we pulled up on him, I remember cats was, "Man, what's up, man? What's up, Pop?" And he was more or less like, "Hold on, like, nigga, who's you?" Like, because there was so many people at once. It wasn't even like, you know, cat kind of all 50 at once rushed me. So I think he was just overwhelmed, and he, you know, he was, "Hold on, what the fuck going on?" And then I believe then there was some guns drawn. And then when the guns was drawn, I think some cats could, maybe we had heart because there was so many of us, but they wasn't backing down. So that would kind of turn it up even more because they weren't backing down. Now we're going back and forth. So it ain't even time to really explain that we're high school kids. We didn't really get a chance to at that point. So I think that, you know, that definitely had something to do with it. But he was uneasy for sure. He was definitely paranoid.
So how did it get to a point where y'all and Tupac came to a common ground?
Honestly, keep it quite real. It took our coach. He was a white coach. He ain't know nothing about that. He wasn't even about none of that. Good man, you know, but he came out and this whole thing, he was screaming, they're in high school. What the fuck? This is high school. So you can tell once that kind of register, the mood changes, you know, but it took him a little minute for that to register like that. And thankfully it did. Thankfully we had, you know, he came out and did that. You would think, you know, with all us brothers, we should have been able to talk that out and let him know that. But, you know, I guess in our own way, a lot of cats, they wasn't backing down. They, you know, they like, "Nah, hold on, homie. You can put, you know, because that you can imagine that's I guess you could say offensive. Somebody pulling guns out on you. So whether it was scared or not backing down, whatever you want to call it, that made everything turn up 1,000. So now it's all this, everybody loud. It's a whole lot of moving around, you know, but wasn't nobody running, you know. And then luckily again, you know, prayerfully the coach came. And that was the most that happened after the fact. We knows that I believe a couple cats maybe even took pictures with him. I know cats took pictures of him. And you know, man, y'all just can't be running up on people like that, man. It's love, man, but you know, y'all can't be doing that, man. You know, that was his speech. So I remember, you know, cats getting, that's why cats got on the bus, like, what? Like, what you mean? Like, we in high school, homie. Like, but again, you know, he was going through his own thing.
Right. What was Tupac wearing?
I believe he had it was like an orange, it was an orange reddish like button up silk. I want to say it might have been a Versace joint. And he had that chain on. Everybody talk about the rope with the circle with the, what is that, the angel? It's the angels of death or something in there. He had that on with some jeans, looking real player. You know, he you know, he looked the part. He was shining. He had his jewelry on. I remember at the Rolex, he had the rings. He was on top. He was definitely on top. You know, and he one thing that did that I always has stuck with me because I eventually got to meet other famous people too. Fortunately, I met Nipsey like a few months before he died at a complex of Con. I didn't, you know, get too much interaction, but just being around people like that, I noticed that they got a certain glow and nostalgia about them. And with me, even at that age, not even knowing what that was, that's what he had. It was almost like the man was floating. Like it was just like he shined brighter than anybody. You didn't have to know what he was doing, what he had on. He was different. Yeah, he was, you know, he was who he's supposed to be for sure.
Was Suge Knight with Tupac?
Yeah, Suge was with him. Suge hopped out. They hopped out. I don't even think they went in and out, period, at least not when we was there. Suge hop out and like damn near make a V-line in and out. So it was him, maybe another dude, I can't remember. But he make a V-line in there. So he in there, I don't know if you know about in and out. You know, in and out is a line. So I think Suge was kind of caught up in the line at one point. And we all these cats, you know, around him and stuff like that. I don't think he even figured it out until it was, you know, pretty much over. When he figured it out, I want to say. But I remember he came out and he, you know, after that, he diffused, you know, it was diffused and he probably could have diffused it better because I think he knew who he was right away. I remember that. He should have played football, had a football background. I went to UNLV, Should went to UNLV. Still, you know, obviously before he went to jail, I did bump into him a couple times and, you know, rap with him. But I think he probably would have helped the situation now that I'm thinking about it, honestly. Because he knew. As soon as he seen us, he'd have knew, like, oh, these is, you know, these football players, they ain't on that. Where, you know, Tupac didn't. So, yeah.
Do you remember what Suge Knight was wearing?
Damn. I don't remember what Suge had on. I just remember that earring, and I remember that cigar. He had a cigar, and he had earring was just big, man, big as my head. It was. That's all I remember. That's all it was shining. I can't remember what he got on. I don't.
And where exactly was the In-N-Out Burger located at?
Is that still Vegas? I believe it's still Vegas. It's In-N-Out. It's a famous In-N-Out. I don't want to say famous, but a lot of people go to this In-N-Out. You can't miss it. You get on the 15 freeway when you go from Vegas to California. So I'm assuming they was driving there from Cali. And then that's what I always found interesting too, because I ain't gonna lie, I'm obsessed with the Tupac story. I didn't watch it every angle. You know, just being from where I'm from, I know a lot of people that might have had, you know, just been around at that time. So it's always been interesting to me. But I even hear cats say they seen him in Vegas the day before, and I'm like, but we seen him driving in. So I'm like, that never made sense to me when I heard people say that, by the way, because we physically seen him and they was driving in. Or maybe I doubt they left Vegas to go to In-N-Out an hour away to come back in town. But yeah, they definitely I'm going to assume they was coming from California. I'm almost certain they probably was.
And this incident happened a few hours before Tupac got shot in Vegas, right?
Yeah, I would say shit. Maybe middle of the day, 1, maybe 2.
So y'all had that incident with Tupac, and a few hours later, Tupac gets shot in Vegas. What was your reaction when you heard the news that Tupac got shot?
It was wild. Me personally, how I heard, literally, you know, because it's a bus. I guess we had a few stops or whatever. When I get home, finally get home, like going to my room, I heard it. I already heard it that night before it even hit the news. Like, you know, and it was, I didn't believe it. But at the same time, like everybody else, he had already got shot. Tupac is Superman. So I'm like, oh, he got shot again? And selfishly, and again, I can't say immaturely, I was like, oh, I know this is going to be a cold album, but you ain't thinking he going to die. You just, because it's Tupac. He gets shot and rap about it and make millions off of it. So I don't even think it surfaced to me he was going to die at all. I don't, you know, even when it was told to me, it wasn't, I don't want to say it was lighthearted. I overheard the conversation actually from some adults that had people out there and said, man, we heard Tupac got hit. So I'm overhearing that as a young kid, and I'm like, nah, they, you know how people just be talking. And then by the morning, they said it's the truth, but I'm still like, oh, he gonna make it. This is, you know, it's Tupac. So I think it was still a shock. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't believe it at all. I didn't think for one minute he was gonna die.
Right. I know that had to be surreal, man. Y'all seeing Tupac alive and well, y'all having an incident with him at In-N-Out Burger. Then a few hours later, Tupac in the hospital fighting for his life.
It was eerie. It was very eerie. You know, it was one of them, like, I think anybody was like, damn, I wish if I'd have just had knew or something, you know, even though I was a kid, maybe you could have, you know, put something on his ear, let him know. But it was surreal, it was eerie. Also, just to give you just my personal background on Tupac, I was a huge Tupac fan. Like every morning, every day, listening to his every movie. Like, you know, I knew Tupac as far as a fan just as good as anybody before that happened. For whatever reason, I wasn't overly excited when I seen him, but I had so much love, and just how he came across. He came across so authentic and so real. So when you even hear he shot, like just the strength in his voice, it sounded like he couldn't nothing stop him. Wasn't nothing gonna stop him. So it was wild. I remember when he finally died, hearing it on the radio. I was in one of my friend's car. They said he finally died. We still didn't believe it. You know, that's why I think people think he's still alive to this day, because he had a different aura about him. You knew right away he was different. As soon as you meet him, you know.
Do you think Tupac knew something was going to happen in Vegas?
I would have to say, if I'm thinking about it now, no, I don't think he knew. I think it was just the climate of California at that time. I think everybody was on edge, right? In the 90s, it was wild. So you got to keep in mind. That's what I really, really think it. Now, did he already have problems with somebody or something? That could have been possibly the case. And we running up on him. He didn't know if we was, you know, we was his ops. We was somebody that he had problems with. That could have been the case. But I don't think he knew something was gonna happen, because you got to mind you, he had his shirt open. I see Tupac with vests all the time. So I would imagine, especially somebody got shot, if he really thought he was gonna get shot, he would have had that vest on even then. But he was living. He was chilling. You know, shirt open, fly, like, you know, smoking weed. It wasn't a gang of niggas with him. It wasn't like they had this huge entourage. It was literally 3-4 people. So just knowing about the stories about, you know, Suge and Pac, if he was really, really expecting something to happen, I think you'd seen 100 dudes up at that In-N-Out. Because they had it like that. They was running everything at that time. I knew that as a kid. Wasn't nothing moving without Suge at that time. So yeah, I don't think so.
So I want to backtrack a little, because you talked about this earlier, but you really didn't go into detail. So what is some of the stuff y'all was telling Tupac as the bus was driving off After y'all had that incident with Tupac at In-N-Out Burger, what is some of the stuff y'all was telling Tupac as the bus drove off?
Being kids, yelling like, all right, bitch ass nigga, all right, you scary as fuck. Niggas let them know where they was from, like, all right, cuz, let them know they from 20. Niggas throwing up their hood. Niggas from Insane was doing this thing like it was. I coached on the bus trying to get everybody to calm down, but it's only him and maybe I don't know a couple other coaches, and we was a wild bunch. So he couldn't do that. He wasn't gonna be able to do that. Not on no bus like that. And we just seen Tupac. So it was just like just a lot of heckling. People thought they thought he was scary or whatever the case may be. But I can't say after that incident though, every single one of them felt that when it happened. Everybody, all of them had major love, and I'm guarantee all of them will regret that still. But we young, we don't know no better at the time.
So before we end this interview, my man, tell the people about your background. And the reason why is because I actually think it's dope that you was one of the football players that had the incident with Tupac at In-N-Out Burger, and you actually made it to the league. You actually made it to the NFL. So with that being said, man, tell the people about your journey.
Great experience, definitely had to overcome a lot. I come from that same 90s era. My pops, jail, in and out of jail, in the streets, in the mix. All my family, growing up was pretty much, was street stuff. And then we, few people, my mom, she did great. She had a job, did things. So that was my influences. But very interesting for me because where I came from at that time in my family, nobody was really playing sports at a high level. So it was foreign. Honestly, a lot of the street stuff was more familiar to me because I grew up, just seeing it, being around it. I definitely wasn't in the mix, but I was always around it. All my family was so. Taking that side of me was a blessing to, being able to further my education and then playing football, playing in NFL. Definitely was a major blessing. And I remember even being in a locker room. I done been with Emmitt Smith and told this story. And you could tell like nobody really believed it because you have to like be from where we from to understand like what was really going on at that time. And it always used to sound like it was a story that was like, it was just, that didn't happen. So it got to a point that I stopped telling the story. I ain't even tell it no more because I can just tell people like, I don't believe that. So it's interesting all these years for it to come 360 and more people still talk about the story and ask about the story. And it's the connection with that football team. People still talk about that same football team for 20 years. You got to think on that team, we had maybe eight guys go to NFL on that team. So again, this wasn't no average team. This wasn't no average situation. This was, this was different. And definitely just blessed to even, be a part and be here, still sell that story. I done had two homeboys who died in the last 2 weeks. Like this is nonstop. And it's been like this since I've been a kid, unfortunately. So this it's just a blessing to be able to, just to share my little story. And just continue to, hear the other stories that come out about it and that night and that incident. And thanks again, bro.